Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, you're not to get involved in your mom's Facebook stuff. Want me to shut up? Okay, argue about it till you give up. Then I'll fix it. Ask for a resume in MS Word? Sure. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. You're not to get involved in your mom's Facebook stuff. My dad's words years ago when I started a discussion with my mom over some dumb racist shit she said on Facebook. Facebook brings out the worst in my mother, who in real life used to be a lovely woman, but over the years got lost in her echo chamber of stupidity. I tried getting her out, but I'm not to get involved in my mom's Facebook stuff. Today, there was an illegal protest in my city. A protest organized on Facebook by the lowest of the low of our society. We have a group of about 100 delusional in the country who are actually willing to get from behind their keyboards and disrupt public transport in my city any opportunity they can get in the name of the people. My parents, not a part of the 100 but seemed to be well on their way, went to today's protest. The protest was illegal. They were told to separate and leave. They didn't. They got arrested. Haha. They didn't have any form of identification on them, so they were not allowed to leave. My dad called for the first time this afternoon asking me to go to their place, pick up the IDs, and then the police station. I asked if this was about the Facebook event. He said yes. I said I'd better not get involved, then hung up and ignored his next 17 calls. My aunt apparently went to pick them up later tonight, and everyone's pissed at me saying I'm a traitor except for Grandma, who called to say she misses me and I haven't been able to get the grin on my face. Give your grandma a big hug next time you're able to see her after the lockdown is over. It's a strange role reversal. When we're young, parents try to keep us from following the wrong crowd, and when they're old, we have to keep them from the wrong crowd. I guess the idle time does make for wicked ways. So, several years ago, I joined Facebook so I could keep track of my teenage daughter's activities. Fast forward to today, and I'm still on Facebook, even though my kids are adults now, to keep my mom from accidentally joining the Aryan Brotherhood. There's stupidity for not having any ID on them. Hope they learned a lesson. LMAO, that's hilarious. At some point you will realize that you have very different worldviews from your parents. Keep doing what you're doing. But it never used to be like this. It's as if when they got older and got more free time on their hands, they went with the wrong crowd. For instance, I've always got all my vaccines, and now the past few years she's devoted anti-vax all of a sudden. Total 180 on a number of viewpoints. It's just a shame. Why would they not bring ID? Did they think that would help somehow? Like the cops detain you and then just shrug and give up when they don't have any? Well, my mom keeps her ID in a drawer with her driver's license. She doesn't drive, so they're readily available when she needs them. My dad keeps his license-only ID in his dashboard, but I don't feel they've been doing a lot of thinking lately. Want me to shut up? Okay, argue about it till you give up. Then I'll fix it. This is from the summer between freshman and sophomore year, circa 1989, about 15 years old. This is my best recollection of events. One of my best friends was going on summer vacation with his mom and dad, only child, and they let him invite a friend to go with him so he wasn't alone. They were headed to see the Grand Canyon, with the final destination being Las Vegas. We were driving from South Louisiana. We were riding in a Lincoln Town car for the trip, circa 1988. Similar pick, this car had the type of trunk where you'd close the trunk and it would latch about 2 inches above the deck, and then a motor would pull it down the rest of the way, tightly closing it. They would open it by hitting the trunk release, which was a button in the glove box. This friend's parents were known to argue. We'll call them Mr. Friend's dad, MFD, and Mrs. Friend's mom, MFM. They would get into shouting matches just about anything. My friend had learned to just be quiet when this happened, but I didn't have to do that with my parents, so I wasn't used to that. They had planned to stay at little hotels on the way, and we were probably somewhere in Texas the first night. When we arrived in the evening at our hotel, they popped the trunk by hitting the release in the glove box, and we got out to start getting our bags to take them inside. But when they tried to lift the trunk lid, it was still latched. My friend's dad tried hitting the release button again. He tried pushing the trunk closed again to start over, but the motor wasn't taking it down. He He tried looking under the trunk lid in the 2-inch gap to see if he could loosen the latch manually. Meanwhile, I had an idea I thought could fix the problem. I kept trying to say my idea while he was checking all of his fixes. Me. MFD, why don't? MFD, quiet. I'm trying to think here. After he tried a couple of things, the arguing started between Mom and Dad. They argued about, what are we going to do? We can't get our luggage. Do we get something to break it open? But then we can't keep it closed to travel. Should we call a tow truck, etc.? I tried to give my solution and was shut down every time, ending eventually with a MFD and MFM, shut up. You'll go sit in the car. So we did. A few minutes later, they came and got in the car and told us, we're going to have to cancel the trip and just drive home through the night. As it got quiet and I finally felt like I could talk, I said, why don't you just use the key? There was a notable pause as the idea started to sink in. Oh my goodness, that's so smart, MFM said as they both hopped out trying the key. The trunk opened right up. They came back in the car after a couple minutes and apologized to me for yelling and told us we can get our bags and keep going on the trip. For the rest of the trip, the motor part of the trunk didn't work to pull it all the way closed, but we were, though, able to continue. The trunk would latch and hold 2-inch above being completely closed, and the key worked to open it. We just hoped there wouldn't be any rain in the desert. We got to hike into the Grand Canyon for about an hour down, which took 2 hours to come back up, and got far enough we could barely see the Colorado River in a space between 2 crevices. We drove over the Hoover Dam, and in Las Vegas. We stayed at Circus, which at the time had a kids section full of arcade games and other attractions. Every time MFD or MFM would win at the slots, they'd give us more money to spend. All in all, it was a fun trip. Glad that you weren't fully compliant and eventually shared the key tip for them and got to continue the trip. I was compliant until they canceled the trip. LOL. Then, that hurt me, so I had to say something. Canceling the trip by spending the entire night driving home seems a bit excessive. How can people cave into minor hardships so easily? My dad is like that. He's 70, and any problem that arises needs to be fixed at home. Gets a one-track mind and will not consider alternatives. We were on a motorcycle ride once, each on our own bike. Mine wouldn't start in the middle of the day. He started calling for someone that could come get us home. He kept saying I was wasting my time when I was fiddling to see what was wrong. He was still making phone calls when I got the bike running. Ask for a resume in MS Word? Sure. A few years ago, I had started to use PowerPoint to draft my resume. I'm in France and people expect a one-pager, so I used a blank, portrait-oriented slide and combined different elements until I was happy with the result. I would be sending it out as a .pdf version and never had any problem. That worked until the day I was asked to provide a Word version. This is something usually required to evaluate a candidate's ability to use Word properly, like, you should never center a title in a page by putting many spaces before. I had no intention to spend more than 2 minutes doing this, so I opened a new Word document, selected my PDF resume as an image, and pasted the image into the Word. I would never give an interviewer a personal document in an editable format, even a resume. If they want to evaluate my Word skills, they can give me a test document to write up. I don't know if this is a new thing or what, but I've had 2 different recruiters reach out over the past few weeks and request my resume in a Word doc format. I declined both, but now I'm tempted to do what Opie did next time. In my experience, recruiters want Word format so they can slap their own stickers on it and remove my contact details so the customer cannot bypass them, and they'd lose out on their fee. I make my CV in LaTeX, so PDF conversion to Word is terrible as it doesn't have the same fonts. Word tries its best to match, but you end up with 3 similar-looking, yet slightly different fonts in every single sentence. Must be quite a headache for them. Smiley face. I've been using LaTeX to write my resume for years now as well. I have had a few places I applied ask for a .doc file, and I like OP's solution. PowerPoint to draft a resume? Does this not have anyone else confused? Yep, it's not normal. That's just rescinding your application with extra steps. Some companies want a resume in Word so they can scan it digitally and search for keywords. For some reason, these only like Word docs. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.